everybody, welcome back to the Sales on Demand show. My name is Adam, and I hope you like my new intro music. That is a very old song, I guess you could call it. It's a drum line from the United States Army. Big fan of big band music, and the old intro to this podcast was kind of getting a little stale. I had one person tell me that it was actually kind of scary, so I just decided, let's throw some music at the beginning there. And I'm a huge fan of drums and orchestral music, and so I'm gonna try out a different couple of intros here and see which one kind of gets my blood moving. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and it gets you in the mood to listen to some tips on how to scale up and build your print-on-demand business. That's what we're all about here. So today's episode, this is episode 78, and today I'm talking about skin in the game, how to pay for training, and why you should pay for training, and ongoing mentorship. So I always like to begin with a personal story, and one of the reasons I do this, and I've often been a little bit hesitant about actually, talking about my personal life, but my understanding of the most successful podcasters is that they become real people to the listeners rather than just some disembodied voice reciting information. I would love to become a real person to you as a listener, and I would love for you to become a real person to me. So if you have a story that you'd love to share, if you have a success story from your business, or you just want to chat about something that you heard and you thought it was interesting, by all means, drop me a comment, hit up my Facebook page, and make sure you jump in on the new training. That's right. More on that in a minute. So I wanted to tell you this story. I am going to be retiring from my job pretty soon here, which is sad because I really like my job and the people I work with, but once in a while I get the opportunity to do something that is just so amazing that it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So I had this happen to me the other day. So I was at work, as I am, and I, my job is law enforcement. So I, detected a vehicle that was speeding. So I pull out and pull the vehicle over, and the driver looks at me, and I look at him, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy kind of looks familiar, but I don't really know. I get that a lot. People look familiar, but, I've never met them before. That's just one of those things. So, it could have been that. So he gives me his driver's license, and I realize that this is one of my best friends from when I was a kid. And I mean a long time ago, well over probably 30 years since I've seen this guy. I was 10, 11 maybe. So recognized his name right away, and I said, "Hey, I'm Adam," and he recognized me instantly after I said that. So we sat there and chatted for a minute, and of course, said, "Hey, slow down, whatever," and had a laugh, and then went on my way. And then I didn't think any more about it until he contacted me on Facebook, and he's like, "Hey, listen, I gotta ask you a favor," and right away, I'm just like, ooh, favors. I don't know about favors, man. I don't do favors. Talk to this guy down the street. He's Italian, and he can do you a favor. This on the day of his daughter's wedding. But no, I don't know if I'm going to do a favor for you. Anyway, so I decided to say, well, what do you want? So he's like, well, I want to propose to my girlfriend, and I thought you might be able to help me with that. And he's like, could you, arrest me and throw me around a little bit, and then I'll propose. And I was like, ooh, why don't we do something a little less violent and illegal? Not really allowed to do that. Why don't I just pull you over, and we'll go through a little bit of song and dance, and then you propose. So we came up with this little this plan. Picked a day, and we had a key phrase that I was going to say. I was going to say, "Where's your driver's license?" And he would say, "It's in my back left pocket." But instead of his driver's license, he'd pull out the ring and propose to his girlfriend, and I was like, okay, this could work. So, of course, long story short, it totally worked, and it was awesome. I played it up, did my most authoritative voice. It was pretty funny. His girlfriend, she admitted she was worried, and she had seen me before, and she thought, isn't this your buddy? And she was fooled by it. And then, of course, when he proposed, she started crying, and she said yes. And I felt like $1,000,000 because I was able to be there for this special moment. And the moral of the story is that, if you get a chance to do something really cool, do not miss out on that stuff. I understand that a lot of people are locked in their houses right now, either by choice or by force. Both of those things, I think, are harmful. Get outside and enjoy life. Existing is not enough. Okay, you need to be life. You can't just live without doing amazing things. Making money is great, but there has to be a reason that you're making money. There has to be some kind of goal. There has to be somebody on the other side of your life that you are working for. If the whole point of your life is just, sitting in front of your computer, trying to make some money or do something like that, you're going to have a very sad life. And I've said this before, that I don't want people to come up at my funeral and say how much they, appreciated the money I made and how glad they are that they're going to inherit some money from me when I die. I want them to say, man, we're going to miss the fact that he's here with us, and not just his money, and not just, the things that he bought for us or whatever. I just, none of that stuff really matters to me. I need to have money to survive, and I want to pass down, things to my kids. I want to be debt free, but beyond that, I want to live, man. So that kind of thing just really shakes me when I realize that there's so much life out there. And hopefully you guys are doing the same as I am. Getting out and living, travel, meet new people, take new challenges, learn something new. I mean, I started running this year, and I hated running, but I grew to like it. So you just never know what you're going to like. You never know what is going to fit with you until you try it. So maybe print on demand is for you. Maybe you'll end up quitting your job like I'm going to, and you'll be coaching people on how to sell, which is so exciting. I literally cannot wait to start doing this. All right, so moving on here. So what is selling? Well, literally everything is on the table, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the jury. Get those listings out there. It doesn't matter what kind of listings they are. Halloween is good. Thanksgiving is fine. But the evergreen listings that I've always talked about are going to be big this year. What sells at Christmas time? Everything. And you would be amazed at when I say everything, I mean everything. Birthday stuff. If you've got some Christmas-themed items, start putting them up now. But don't go too crazy because, really, Christmas-themed items are not what Christmas is all about. People buy, general evergreen stuff at Christmas to give to their family, their friends, their bosses, their coworkers, their whatever, their cousins. I've sold hundreds of items to cousins and stepmoms and all that kind of thing. So get those items listed, get them on Etsy, get them on Amazon, start thinking about what you want to send for FBA, because you're going to run out of time if you are not sending in your things probably by the end of September, beginning of October. Okay, moving on to the huge news here. So the course that I have talked about and endlessly promoted and yet was not quite ready to launch. Even a year ago I was talking about this. Well, it is live. It is live. It's ready to go. There will be a link in the description, but just in case you don't read the description, in the show notes, I will tell you, salesondemandshow.com/AZ. The letters AZ. Type in A and then Z and then press enter. And you will be at the sales page for my course. I'm going to be putting that redirect up tonight. Also, if you're listening to this podcast, this is only going to be said once, and I will say it now so that you'll remember it. It'll also be on my email list, so if you're not on that email list, head over to salesondemandshow.com/start and sign up for that, because there's going to be a, what do they call it, a promotional code. You enter in the code SOD100, SOD100, no space, for $100 off the course. The cost is $297 regular price. You can get it for $100 off. That's $197. This is literally never going to be this cheap again. And I'm going to talk about why it's never going to be this cheap again in a moment here. Also, because apparently, I'm just in a mood to give everything away, including the farm. The first 50 people who sign up are going to get a free hour of one-on-one mentorship from me. Okay? So, what's a free hour of mentorship, really? Basically, guys, what I'm going to be doing, from here on is mentoring people one-on-one, how to run, how to start, how to sustain their own business. I'm going to be offering, tech support. And listen, I am a patient guy. This is what I love to do. I love sitting down with people and helping them sort out issues. If you don't know where to go from where you are now, if you've made a few sales and you're struggling to scale up, this kind of mentorship is vital. And I will be talking more about that in this episode, and we'll talk about why mentorship is important even for me, and why I am still accepting and seeking out mentorship from people who are more successful than I am. Okay. Let me hydrate and we'll get into this. So, skin in the game. What does that actually mean? Well, skin in the game is kind of a colloquialism that means that you've committed, more than just you've given more than mental assent to something. So skin in the game is when you've made a sacrifice, you've contributed something towards your future success. Now, in practical life, typically this means you pay for something. Yeah, because you may not really think about this very much, but you actually, when you get something for free, when you don't have to pay for something, you actually value that thing very little. So when somebody gets a free car, here's an example. Okay, so a long time ago, not that long ago, a couple years ago, my grandfather, who is a wonderful man, and by all accounts, my favorite person on planet Earth, who's more than 80 years old. I have a lot of favorite people, but he's my favorite person over 80. He had a car, and it was a Chrysler Sebring, which is not the greatest car. However, he was like, I'm going to give you guys this car. And we really needed this car because my wife, her car kind of crapped out on her. She had a Ford Focus, which is basically, it's like a garbage can with wheels on it. So I was like, hey, you know what? I will take a free car any day of the week. So I looked it up, and a Chrysler Sebring is basically a different colored garbage can on wheels. And I'm like, this car is eventually going to die. It's just a matter of time, because there's a flaw in the engine of these cars where the oil can't circulate, so eventually they'll just die. So my grandfather gave us this car, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do the best I can to prevent this thing from dying. So, I gave it an oil change like every 500 kilometers, which is, far, far, far more frequent than you normally would give an oil change. But I just knew it was going to die. And I found out later that my grandfather had spent $2,000 fixing this thing to give to us. The thing was worth $1,000, as it is. And he spent double the value, and it lasted about 5,000 kilometers, and then it died. And you know what? I was like, hey, easy come, easy go. It was a free car. What do you expect, right? So I wasn't very choked that this car literally died on the side of the road. Like, we were driving home one day, and it started making this high-pitched screeching noise, and I was like, oh, there it is. And I coasted to the side of the road, and we called the tow truck, and I said, it's yours, scrap value, whatever. I wasn't choked because it was free, and I didn't value the car that much because it cost me nothing. It cost my grandfather quite a bit. It cost me nothing. So that's an example from my life of when you don't have skin in the game, when you don't pay for something, you don't value it very much. Another example is someone who buys a house versus someone who rents a house. So a homeowner, I've been a homeowner before, so I naturally sort of take care of things that I'm in charge of, even if I don't own them. But that's actually pretty rare. People who rent are notoriously not very, shall we say, careful with their homes that they rent. And, frequently they will, smash things or punch holes in the wall or do, insane things that no owner would ever do to their home. And, then on the contrast, you got homeowners who their lawn looks like it was cut with a straight razor. It's every single blade of grass is perfectly chopped at the same level, with the sharpest razor you can get. It looks like a golf course. And you can tell that these people spend an inhuman amount of time taking care of their house because it costs them something. Whereas a renter pays the rent, pays the damage deposit, if the damage deposit, disappears, oh well, we'll just move on and rent another house. But a homeowner, they have committed to this relationship with this building. So that is an example of skin in the game. The homeowner has skin in the game. They have committed to this home thing, and they'll take care of it more. They value that thing much more highly than someone who rents it. So how does this apply to business? Because it's a fine thing to talk about skin in the game, but what does it really mean for you? What it means, guys, is if you don't pay for training, it's useless to you, right? So, for example, this podcast in December is going to turn 2 years old. Happy birthday, Sales on Demand show. Great. 2 years that I've been making nearly weekly episodes and giving all of this content away for nothing. I have seen I think I have probably 400 to 500 listeners, and maybe even more than that because not everybody downloads every single episode, but I'm getting about 400 downloads per episode. So that tells me that there's a lot of people listening. And yet, I suspect that, all of the information that I'm giving you guys, very little of it is actually being used. I know that many people are using this information, but I suspect that it's probably less than 20% of you are actually, taking this free information and making use of it. And I'm only saying that because I'm the same way. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to, there's 2 or 3 podcasts that I listen to weekly, and there's one that I listen to daily that are business podcasts. And, most of the time that I get, a few tips here and there, and sometimes I get huge pieces of information, and yet when I look back and ask myself, what did I actually implement from those podcasts? Well, not a lot. most of what I know, most of what I have learned, I've learned from paid training. I started by paying for the low-hanging system, a course that I promote to you guys, and a couple of you have actually purchased it. And some of you have made sales. I know because you have, emailed me and said, "Hey, I made a sale with this training program, and it's fantastic." That cost $300. I have paid for over $10,000 worth of training in the last 3 and some years, almost 4 years. $10,000, and I'm currently in a weekly mentorship program run by Rachel Raffay, where she has a weekly coaching session, and I log in every single week. Even when I'm at work, I just listen to it in the background, because I am always learning, right? And I paid for that training, so I'm going to get that training. When I pay $2,000 for something, I'm going to get my money's worth out of it. And that's called skin in the game. I have got a lot of investment in this kind of training. I have invested not just time, but money. I have invested my energy. I've invested my own, my life into this. And so that's why I've had success here, is because I have committed to this. I've paid for it. I've got skin in the game. On the other hand, somebody who just listens to a free podcast and you get a few tips here and there, maybe you went out and started an Etsy store, maybe you put up a few listings, but you got distracted. There's lots of things that distract people. I mean, God knows I just spent the last, 25 minutes before this podcast talking to somebody on Facebook who keeps insisting that we should shut down schools again because of COVID. And I'm like, listen. So, that is a distraction, and it's definitely not a useful distraction. But I don't let those things take away from my business overall. But on the other hand, this hypothetical listener is somebody who, maybe listens to the podcast and learns a few things, starts an Etsy store, and just never gets on track with it. Well, listen, you are the person who's going to benefit from paying for training. When you pay for something, you value it more. You're going to make more use of it. You're going to take that information and you're going to put it into action. Now, part of this training program is going to be mentorship. And just like I, put myself under mentorship, to have the most success in your life, you need to find a mentor. Somebody said this, and I don't know who, that you become most like the 5 people, the 5 most influential people in your life. You become kind of like a mix of who they are. So when you surround yourself with successful people, you're going to become more like those successful people. When you surround yourself with people who just have no, they have no interest in challenging themselves, they just want to sit around and drink beer and watch Netflix, then you're going to become more like those people. I don't know, maybe you like drinking beer and watching Netflix, but I mean, that doesn't pay the bills, right? You're not going to make money doing that. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but if that's all you do, you do your 40-hour work, a week job, and then you come home and you do nothing else, you're just never going to find that success. So I encourage you, make the commitment to pay for training. I'm offering this training at a very, very, very steep discount. It's never going to be this cheap again. My mentor, one of my mentors, who is Will Hammerl, I have a direct line to Will. He's going to be promoting this course to his people, and I appreciate that, but he was the one who suggested that I build this course. He charges $1,000 for his training, and then once you buy the training from Will, you need to go and pay for ads, and you pay for all of this other stuff. Will is charging $1,000 for his time. I'm charging $200. The amount of money isn't as important as what you do with the information, right? but Will knows that his information is worth that $1,000 and probably more. Me, I'm given a discount because I want to get my name out there, right? And you kind of have to do that in the beginning. You have to pay your dues. So I'm paying my dues. And you can, get an advantage from this by getting a $100 discount and a free hour of one-on-one mentorship if you're one of the first 50 people to sign up. So once again, salesondemandshow.com/AZ for that training. Well, it is late at night, everybody, and the children are off to bed, so I'm going to wish you farewell, and we'll see you in the next week. Cheers.